Go ahead.
Hello, shooters, loaders, and casters. Welcome to Friday night live stream from Georgia Shooting Connection. We're glad y'all are here. Uh, Chapin, Curtis, man, my Chromebooks work, brother. They just work. If they don't, I got to do some more stuff to them. So we're going to continue our basic beginning reloading stuff tonight and move forward. And we're going to do a quick review, but as first, always, we start with my brother, my friend, my right hand man, my partner in crime, Mr. Chico Wise.
Oh yes, sir. No problem, brother. Always. Everyone, thanks for joining us for another Friday night Georgia Shooting Connection. We're gonna get into some topics if y'all remember from last week. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. It looks like I see 21, but my devices are slow. So we really appreciate y'all being here. And I'm gonna go that way because it's easy, you know. So Echo, how you been doing? Thanks for joining us again, man.
Doing well, Chico. How have you been?
Good, man. Been a hot week down here.
Yes, it is. How's Carter?
He's good, man. Thanks for asking.
That water looks good, man. Thank you.
Gotta have it,
So,
brother.
how are you, Scotsman? I watched your rant today, and I know Fuzz started it all. So,
Oh, it was before Fuzz, man. I'm good. Just trying to keep a level head as best I can. It's hard though. It's getting harder every day.
well, I'm thinking that Kyle might be in and out tonight. He's down in Lagrange at a shooting property, so he'll probably be in and out. We've also sent a couple of more invites, so we could have some more folks dropping in and out as time goes by. But just a quick review from last week was started talking about beginning reloading, and we were talking about the things we all need before we start, and that would be we're supposed to be gathering up our brass. We got to accumulate brass. Of course, we got to have powder and primers. We have to have a press of some sort, which is going to be our main topic for the night. We've got to have a scale, some sort of powder scale, some sort of powder measure. Um, we got to have calipers. Um, what am I forgetting?
Well, we're going to need some tools for prepping the brass. You're going to need some way to chamfer, deburr, and trim. And if you're reloading 223 or 556, you're going to need something to remove a military crimped primer pocket, which we'll explain exactly what that is as we get into this. But I'm just saying little tools you're going to need right off the bat if you're going to do 223 or 556 cartridges in particular. Pistol brass, James, what do you suggest you guys use on pistol brass? You reload more pistol brass than I do.
Let me go round up some tools. I should have been more
Okay.
prepared. So let me go round
Okay.
up some stuff, and Chico can cover for me while I'm doing that. So
Chico, you are showing some safety right there, brother.
Yes, sir. And as minute as it seems, these are your lifesaver, your vision savers always. Reloading, shooting, brass prep. If you ever trim brass, whether it be pistol or rifle, that brass, those shavings can fly. So safety glasses are a big plus. It's a requirement. You know, you only got two eyes. Trust me. Me being in an automotive field, I've got all kind of stuff in my eyes, and it normally happens when I take my safety glasses off. So safety glasses work. I use gloves a lot because the brass is dirty and it's got lead deposits, carbon deposits. You can get cut or scratched or whatever, but nitro gloves or I don't wear latex, but the nitro gloves work good.
Yeah, I'm bad for not putting gloves on. I probably should. I have a whole box of them, but I never use them. I'm bad for that.
When I first got into it, I think I was doing some brass prep on some 9mm, and I was just separating. When you get range brass, you going through your 9mm, separating 40, 45. I probably went through 100 cases, and I looked at my fingers, and they were black.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's with the carbon lead deposits and stuff like that. And my son's always, he'll come down here. Y'all see him on the live streams, and he'll want a hug. And so I try to keep his exposure and my exposure down as much as possible. So I see you with it. I see you.
Ball and carries. Yeah, no, man, I hear you. The first time I had to do brass sorting, the biggest batch I ever had to do so far today was when I brought all those 5 gallon buckets back from C-Max's. His wife gave me all that, and that was like 6 buckets, man. That I didn't even think about putting gloves on, and by the time I was done, trust me, my hands were a whole different color.
Yeah, Bob. I mean, you can do that too, man. Then that makes you real safe if you want to use those doing that exercise.
I guess it depends really on. Yeah, we're not gonna go there.
Right.
Yeah, what you gotta understand is your skin is a organ and it's a barrier to anything that you come in contact with, but it has pores and breathes. So certain chemicals in cleaning solutions, you've got benzene, you've got a lot of nasty stuff that can absorb through the skin, and it's cumulative. And certain chemicals cause certain types of cancers. Certain chemicals will shut your kidneys or your liver down. You can get a thing of latex or the nitro gloves at Harbor Freight, really inexpensive. And when you're reloading, sorting brass, whatever, have a pair on and just take them off and throw them in your trash can.
Yeah.
And another
Edward brings up an excellent.
Go ahead, Scotsman.
Edward brings up an excellent point. Have a fire extinguisher handy.
Oh yeah, have one right in the corner, and you want to use dry chemical. CO2 and halon is not going to be your best fire retardant, and because basically when you have a fire, it breathes and eats just like we do. It needs stuff to consume. When you add gunpowder, that's fuel. Anything in the house that's wood, plastic, metal, or even drywall or concrete will eventually burn. So you want to be able to put the fire out. I mean, dry chemical is a mess. As soon as you spray it, you're going to be hearing about it from the wife for probably a month. But the thing is, if you have something happen and I've had a lot of my friends spraying brake cleaner and using a Dremel and set their whole workbench on fire. And, you got to have something there just in case for that type of thing.
Definitely. Yeah, some of those little safety measures and items definitely probably a lot get taken for granted. You don't need them until you need them. You know what I mean? It's like, where did I put that fire extinguisher at? You know what I mean? Or, something like that. So all good items. So thanks for the side chat out there participating. I'm going through and seeing it's The numbers went up since I walked away. Hey, look at that. What else? What else? You kind of, for brass prep, people gonna disagree with me on this. But you kind of need a little space, just a little space, or you gotta your areas gotta at least be kind of cleared out of the way. When I'm doing brass prep, I've got a little like a what is it, like a food tray, one of those fold away dinner trays I can go in the other room with, and then I do my brass prep on that. If I'm doing rifle, if I'm doing pistol, I throw it up in the Dylan if I can. So, uh, did you grab you some tools, Jamie?
A few, yes, sir. Um, let's do this. Okay. If you buy a Lee press kit, it's going to tell you that it's going to come with some brass prep tools. Okay. What you're going to get is this. Hold on. This is what they're calling a primer pocket cleaner, and this is their camphor and deburr tool, and they will suffice until you can do better. This piece of 3030 brass, and it has a uh, large primer pocket, so you would use that end, and you just spin that in there, and it cleans the gunk out of your primer pocket. Camphor and deburr tool, you just stick your brass up there and turn this back and forth, and it camphors the outside, and then you take it and put it like this on the inside, and these are that's like less than $10 for both of those tools in one kit. So you've heard it say you get what you pay for. What I did was I bought several of these. This is the Hornady tool, and you see it's very ergonomic. It fits in your hand very well. This is the deburr, and the way I have mine set up is you squeeze these two little buttons. This comes out, flip it over, put it back in there, and there's your camphor tool. And when it squeaks like that, it's done.
You're done.
You don't need to get that so sharp that you can cut biscuits with it, because that wouldn't be a big enough biscuit to do you any good. So yeah, you don't have to have a knife's edge on the top of your brass.
Yeah, basically all you want to do is enough deburring and chamfering so that you see a polished ring. And if you when you deburr, that is cutting the outside 90-degree angle on the outside of the neck of the brass. And then when you chamfer, that is cleaning the inside neck of the brass. And if you go too much, because you're cutting an 11-degree angle on the outside and a 30-degree angle or more if you're using a VLD, which is for really long skinny bullets, it's a little bit of a different chamfer tool. It just cuts a little bit different angle on it, a little bit more of a laid back angle. It's not just a short edge. It chamfers deeper down into the neck. Basically, you don't want to get that. If you're cutting on both sides of it, that's how you sharpen a blade. So you don't want to have a sharp mouth where you can rotate it on your thumb like this. And if it's so sharp, you'll feel it starting to cut into your thumb. And you don't want that, because what that'll do is that'll cause the case neck to split because you've gotten that brass too thin. So basically that's just one of the little tips.
Yeah,
now on the primer pop, go ahead, Jamie.
If you're getting that razor's edge on there, you're at some point, if you go too far, you're defeating your overall trim length, and you're defeating yourself when it comes to having a good solid crimp on the bullet.
And also with bolt action rifle cases, when
Hey,
you're loading precision
Roosted
ammunition,
Film.
Okay, do what, Chico?
Roosted Films had a question, and I missed it. So it's after we or 8 minutes, 8 baby, and then what do your overall length 9mm brass do? And I'll be honest, I've never trimmed 9mm or 45 ACP brass, and that's what I started out with. But if you go to your loading manual, or I grabbed the first one I seen, the trim to length on 9mm says 751 thousandths, and I've just picked up like 3 cases. One is 744, one is 739, and one is 742. Now, I'm sure some guys out there that's probably trimmed 9mm brass, but I don't. I haven't. Let's say that. Anybody else got anything about that?
I started out doing it.
Basically, what he says, I have a question.
We got some lag going on. I apologize for that. Yeah, I'm trying to keep up, Dave. I'll get to you in just a minute. Another thing.
Oh, no worries.
Before we get too far, this this tool comes with 2 of these things like that, and then all 4 of those tools. So I got mine set up so I can just flip them and interchange them, and that's the Hornady set, and that was $50. But the way things are going lately, they're probably 100 now, at least 75. Everything is going up way more expensive than it ought to be, and it is ridiculous. I got an email today from Bear Creek Arsenal, and their uppers that were 220, 230 bucks a month ago are up to $400 and $500 now. So I don't know what we're going to do, guys. Just hold on to what you got and let this mess blow over, I reckon. So where were we at? Where am I at and what am I doing? I got another one.
As far as trimming pistol brass, yeah, I've never done that. Never seen the need to. Yeah.
Yeah.
38, 44, 357. After a lot of reloads, possibly, but you have to do quite a few before you need to start trimming it.
I also have the lineman. You go, Chico. I've talked enough.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm lagging bad. I got a nephew over with my son, and so they're both killing the bandwidth, I think. He wanted to know how short can you trim it before it's a problem. And like Scotsman said, and I've never trimmed it. at all. I've never had an issue with 9mm brass. Not saying that you can't have an issue. I'm sure people have trimmed it and have more experience than I do. So sorry, Roosted Films, if I know I didn't completely answer your question, but I think you'll be all right not trimming 9mm brass.
Basically, pistol brass, if you know it, basically the reason why pistol brass does not grow is because the pressure levels are not high enough. If you notice 458 SOCOM 300 AAC blackout cartridges, they also will actually shrink a little bit. And then once you run them through a expander ball, the rifle cartridges will pull back out. And because when you squeeze the body of the brass, it's like when you squeeze a toothpaste roll, it extends out. The weakest end of the brass is the mouth. So when you squeeze the body, you cause the mouth to run forward. Now, why pistol brass doesn't do that is it doesn't use an expander ball. When you put these pieces of brass up into either an all steel die, which it will squeeze it down, and with 9mm, we'll put a slight taper on it. With 357 Magnum, or like this cartridge, this is a Remington 357 Maximum. And basically, it's just a little stronger than a Magnum, but the case is about a 1/4 inch length, a little bit longer than a Magnum. And basically, what you're trying to do is you're trying to reshape the actual brass and make it so it'll fit inside your cylinder or inside your chamber of your semi-auto pistol. And when you do that, pistol brass just doesn't seem, like after you shoot it, it may be a couple thousandths short of what they consider trim length. Trim length is basically the shortest you want to trim the brass, and that's listed in every handgun load manual for each and every cartridge. Then they'll have maximum length of the cartridge, which will be usually 10 thousandths longer than the actual trim length. So if you're in between trim length or a little below and up to the maximum of case overall length, you really don't have to trim it. But you want to make sure your cartridges are uniform, each one being within a couple thousandths of the other. If not, when you go to seat the bullet and then put a crimp on it, you're going to run into issues because one bullet's going to be a little bit longer and it's going to want to crimp, harder on that bullet. And then if you're trying to seat and crimp at the same time, you can run into some serious issues where it buckles the case because it's starting to crimp before the bullet is fully seated. And I've seen a lot of people booger that up. But basically, you just want to see, I always do it in 2 steps because I do batch work. I don't run a progressive yet. And I'll do 100 cases and then I'll measure them. And if they're above a certain amount, then I'll go ahead and knock them all back down to trim length. And basically with 223, if you trim it back to 1.750, which is the trim length of that case, you can reload that thing at least 3 or 4 times before you get to 1760, which is the max case length. And then most chambers give you a couple thousandths beyond that of leeway to prevent someone from hurting themselves by getting a cartridge jammed into the free bore and basically causing a pressure spike. But the bottom line you got to remember is just measure your brass, make sure it's all within about 3 to 4 thousandths of each other, and it's not past the maximum case length. and you're good. And a lot of times pistol brass, you really don't have to mess with the trimming like everyone's been saying. I don't trim it unless it absolutely needs it. And I have been doing this for a while, and I haven't found any pistol brass yet that needs it. Now, if I'm loading competition pistol ammunition for someone that's going to be out competing, I'll make sure the brass is all trimmed the same size. That way there's no deviation in velocities due to the bullet sitting deeper in the shell casing in one and being a little bit further forward in the next, or have a little bit more room for the powder. And it will vary in the velocities quite a bit, which can cause accuracy issues.
Yeah. So Roosted Films put up there that what he's actually talking about is cartridge overall length, what we call COL or COL for short, or and that's going to depend on your particular barrel, um, where that bullet is. You got, that's why we said you got to make a dummy round, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that as we move
Basically, yeah, Jamie, is what he's saying is your bullet has got a bearing surface that comes in contact with your rifling and the grooves in your barrel. And depending on how heavy that bullet is, the heavier it is, a bullet's going to be longer. So what you worry about is you don't want it too long or too short. You can have pressure issues. You can have feeding issues. There's a lot to do with the bullet overall length. And basically, you got to consider in your case trim length or your case max length, whatever your cases are, that all fills into this equation as well. But for general, you can look up usually in your load manuals, and they will have a case overall length, and they're going off the trim length, and they're also going off the charge that you're using that they have listed there. They may have 5 or 6, maybe more powders, and each one of those will tell you how many grains of powder to start with and where your max is. And basically, it also will tell you for the particular bullet that you're loading for the case overall length. And that's a good place to start, especially if you're just starting out, is use the book data.
Yeah, and that comment Kenny put up there, that can create a barrel obstruction if you get the case gets so long that it's jamming into the lands and grooves also. So I can see where at times you would need to trim pistol brass, but when I started out, I was doing everything by the book because I read a lot of books. I watched a lot of videos before I ever started. But I would sit there with a bag of 9mm brass, and I'd put it in my drill and set it up to trim it with my Lee thing, which I'm going to show y'all in just a minute. We're getting ahead of ourselves here in the process, but when I'd go through 300 9mm cases and only 1 or 2 of them would actually trim, that I would need to actually camphor and deburr because no shavings were coming off. That's when I realized that trimming 9mm brass basically is a waste of time. So, if you're Bio Curtis, thanks for dropping in. So, yeah, when I went through all that, I decided that probably didn't need to be trimming 9mm and 40 and 45 ACP cases. Somebody put something, single shot, all ACP and the like headspace on trim length. Yes, they do. All of our quote unquote pistol caliber brass, what I call pistol is not revolver. So like your 940 and 45 ACP does headspace on the case mouth. That's why we make a dummy round. So y'all want to keep on? You're going to
Hey,
talk
Jamie.
me into trimming 9mm again, right? Go ahead, Chico.
So look, I think I got to the gist of his reasoning behind that question. He says his bullet won't fit the case gauge until it's seated down to 1.045. So if you are using a pistol, I'll tell you the best thing to use instead of that case gauge is your barrel. And sometimes it's like that, Roosted Films. I'm looking in the book for SIG, and the I'm not. It looks like the lowest I see is 1135. So that's 1 inch, 135 thousandths for 357 SIG. So that may seem a little short, but I would probably use the your barrel. Just you want to seat it just until you want to do it in small increments, just until it fits in the till it passes the plunk test. But 1045, I think anybody else out there load 357 SIG. I'm looking at the book. Overall length is like 1135 for some loads, but that's all gonna be dependent on the bullet style, the bullet shape, the ogive, and stuff like that.
And one of the biggest things is don't be scared if you have to make it shorter, because it's going to happen.
Right.
There are some barrels that I have to make the 9mm pretty short, and I know we're talking 357 SIG and all that, but it'll happen on a certain calibers and certain barrels. It's going to happen. The biggest thing is when you make it that short, that you figure out your powder charge and adjust your powder charge accordingly, so you're not getting that extra high pressure or doing a compressed load or anything like that. That's the biggest key.
Yes, I would piggyback off that and say that if you've got to seat that bullet shorter to get it to chamber well and correctly and right, then you've got to start at the minimum or maybe even 10% below minimum and work up from there. Don't start at the max or middle of the road on that one. But yeah, your plunk test is the best way of checking. You got to take that barrel out of that gun, and Roosted Films. That's why 9mm is tapered, and it's so slightly tapered that you can't see it with the naked eye. And that's why I tell people, if you have a 38, start with 38 special, and then move to 9mm. So because it's a straight wall, it's perfectly straight. It's you got that rim on the case. That's where your headspace is. So it's a lot more forgiving.
And I'll say this, man, don't say that it sounds stupid. It doesn't matter what it is. We all struggle at some point with something. I've had issues in the past where, I've been reloading for quite a few years now. I still have issues sometimes, and I call Jamie or I call Chico or I text them and go, hey, what am I doing wrong? We all have brain farts. We all have problems. It happens. The biggest thing is we have this network right here that we can reach out and get help. And I sent you a message, so check that. You can reach out to me anytime, brother, and I'll help you out the best I can.
Look, if anyone can see this, maybe I got the wrong camera up, but so all these are 124 9mm projectiles. When I first got in reloaded, and I was thinking all up, especially for the round nose. When I found a round nose that worked in my firearm with my loads, right? I was like, this truncated cone should work the same way, right? Nope, don't work like that because I locked up my gun. So the truncated cone for my, in my opinion, in my experiences, they have to be seated shorter than the round nose. So I seen him say that he's having a problem with 9mm, and it ain't stupid at all. It's a lot of people say that 9mm is the hardest cartridge to reload, sorta, but nah, man. Anytime, like Scotsman said, if you email or you want to reach out, brother, we can definitely help you, man. I'm sure it's a lot of people. A lot of people have struggled. I've struggled. He said I seen the same with the truncated cone. I locked up a gun, seating them to the basically the same length or a little bit short, and I locked up a gun. It wouldn't go in the full battery. So that happens with certain styles of bullets. That's why I was saying the ogive or certain styles of the bullets would be kind of determining about that. So, but that's why we're here, brother.
Yes, sir.
Now, when Chico's talking about ogive, that is the spot of the bullet that first makes contact with your rifling. It would make first contact with your forcing cone in a revolver, and basically it's where the bullet starts to get wide to its full bearing surface. And what happens is if the bullet's too long, you drop it and do the plunk test in your barrel, it'll make a funny noise. It won't sound like a plunk. And then if you try to spin that bullet in the chamber, it won't turn. Not because your brass is too big, but because the ogive, the wide part of the bullet, is already engaging the lands and grooves of your firearm, and that can cause a serious problem with pressure, feeding. So that's just a little something to let you know what ogive is. But like I was just measuring this brass, and I haven't resized it. It's just been cleaned. And trim length, okay, max case length is 1.605. Case trim length is 1.595. So basically, let's see, what's that, 10? Yeah, it's 10 thousandths. So like I was saying, it's 10 thousandths shorter. These have just been fired once. And I'm getting 1597. So I'm right there near 1595. And I've got a couple that are even a little shorter than 1595. But as soon as you resize it, they're all going to get to about the same length. So, you kind of basically will set itself up to where the cases will be at trim length or a couple thousandths beyond once you resize them.
Another thing I would tell y'all is if you start trimming and you take a little too much off, don't freak out about that either, because if you'll go on Sammy's website and get the Sammy specs on that cartridge, you'll find that on most cases, what you're reading in the book is usually 10 thousandths longer on the minimum than what's printed in the manuals. You got to remember that these people that make these manuals, Lyman, Lee, all that kind of stuff, these guys sell stuff to trim cases with. So they want you to be trimming your cases often and a lot. So you'll depend on them. So
yeah, not everything you read is 100%.
Right. And while we're talking about that stuff, we need, and let's talk about our load manuals. You got to understand that these load manuals are put out by a particular company, and they will definitely turn into advertisements if you pay too much attention to what you're reading. They will make you believe that You only need to buy Lyman stuff. You only need to buy Lee stuff. Nothing can be further from the truth. Uh, it's hard to find good load data on a lot of stuff. Like Spear is going to give you load data on Spear bullets. If you're loading, uh, if you're loading Hornady, you're not going to find a lot of data on Hornady bullets in the Lyman book, or well, you'll find it in the Lyman book, just not in the Spear or the any of the other brand bullet manufacturers. Does that make sense? Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, and we, we've said it before many times in the past too, but have as many manuals as you can. Compare data left, right, center. Always compare. Don't take one as gospel. It's not gospel.
And the reason being is because every so often we find ourselves in a situation like we're in right now where we can't find what we're used to having. We're having to use whatever we can find. And you need load data for whatever bullets, whatever primer, whatever powder you can get your hands on.
Yes.
And and kind of on that note, don't be afraid to try a powder you haven't tried. Don't be afraid to try a bullet you haven't tried. You're gonna have to mix it up. You're gonna have to change it up a little bit, especially with what we're dealing with now. You're gonna have to mix it up. I ordered, and I don't do this too often, but usually for any rounds that I'm using specifically for a task, I'm going to order the round. I'm going to order the bullets. I'm not going to cast them. I'm going to order them. Just because they're going to be a little more precise and concise versus what I'm putting out. I'm still not there yet. So usually when it comes to something like that, I'm going to order those types of things. And usually I'm ordering from Acme bullets. I like Acme bullets. They work well, but right now Acme's sold out of just about everything, period. So this time around, I got something coming up. I don't know if they're going to be here in time. Probably not. So I'm going to end up having to cast anyway. But I had to order from another company. So you're going to have, I'm going to have to make some minor tweaks here and there on the press whenever I get those bullets. You do what you got to do.
How often should you update your manuals? Whenever a particular company puts out an updated version. The Lee book, Modern Reloading by Richard Lee, the one I have is the second edition. They don't have the third edition out yet. The Lyman book, the one I have is the 50th edition. The 51st edition is past due to come out. Hornady, what is that, Dave? Is that 10?
Yes, this is the 10th one. They are supposedly going to be bringing out the 11th version here within this next year. I'm not sure with the coronavirus if that delayed them or anything because of the printing and everything. But I've talked to them, Hornady, and they said the new one's coming out and they're going to be putting load data for like Lyman, where they will tell you what powder they found to be the most accurate. And the Hornady book has some of that. If you read the paragraphs looking up to the cartridge, like once you find the cartridge and you read the couple, 3-4 paragraphs, most of them will have a powder that they say this powder and this powder worked pretty well, was pretty accurate. Lyman has for every bullet it's got in its manuals a highlighted or italicized black lettering, dark black lettering at the powder that actually was the most accurate that they found for that particular projectile. And it helps you out. It doesn't give you really a load that is going to be spot on, but it gives you an idea of where to start. and work your way up to it. And once you find something that is shooting accurately and your velocities are within, I'd say max 15 feet per second, you're going to get accuracy and through consistency. And that's a big part of it. But I would say consult with load manuals that, you can trust. You can dig into the pile of them and pick up a couple. We talked about it last week, but yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to new manuals and stuff, the reason they come out with those, it's not really updated powder charges per se most of the time. Usually it's a new style of bullet, a new caliber, new calibers added, something along those types of lines. So there's nothing wrong with the book you have. Keep it, just add to your inventory, add to your arsenal if you would. The more you have, the better off you're going to be.
So we've been at this most of an hour. Chico, you want to do that thing you do?
I'll try. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
It's delayed, but okay, we're gonna go through it. Lead Bullet Junkie, T Fork 8, single shot. We got Rebel, William C. Chaplin, Rawless is out there. Daniel God is my judge. Edward Petty, Bald and Curious, Vanessa Kitty, Thorzax, Uncle John, Willet Man, PCC Kid, Texas Outlaw Michael Signs, Andy C9Z28. Oops. Eagle Eye Shooting, Signal Soldier 31, PC Bullet Empire, Kingpin, Hidden Steel CA. Let's see. GGW Reloading, Roosted Films, Reloader 762, Lever Guns 50, Max Bear, Chris 338, K24, Broke Loader, Texas Can. Let's see, almost to the bottom. I think I got everyone. Squatch Reloading. I say Rawless for a second time, but that's okay. Jerry 1911. Boom, boom, boom. And that's it. So if I forgot you, sorry I'm lagging. I got a nephew and a son that is draining the internet right about now. So I switched over to my hotspot on my phone. I don't know if it's working better. But yeah. So I hope that helped with Roosted Films and stuff. Now my neighbor wants to cut. So.
You sound much better, Chico. You got a little bit of lag, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, sometimes it's amazing how just going out and coming back in help you. My phone's blowing up, y'all. Forgive me.
Jamie, do you want to talk about how we clean the brass to get it ready for reloading?
I think that's where we're at this point. Like I said, you got to gather it up, pick it up at the range, whatever, buy it, all that kind of stuff. You got to, what I do is I deprime it and then I clean it. You can either dry tumble or wet tumble the brass with you do the wet thing with stainless steel pins. Um, yeah, so after that you gotta separate it. Sometimes I will do both, and let me tell you what I mean by that. First thing I do is you look back here, I have the Lee, that's my little Lee press back here, and I have the Lee universal decapping die, and that does not touch the brass at all. So you're not getting your, if you deprime using your sizing die before you clean the brass, you're going to get a bunch of dirt and grime up in that, up in your sizing die, and you don't want that. You're going to be, you when you put a clean piece of brass in there, it's going to get scratched all to pieces. You don't want to do that. So um, I deprime it, then I wet tumble it, and then I get it out, separate the media, and let it dry. And after I've let it dry, I'll put it in a bag and spray it with this lanolin lube up here, and then I'll size it. And after I size it, typically if I'm doing big batches, I'll throw it in my dry tumbler and just run it long enough just to get um, all of the lube off of it. You know, makes it real pretty and shiny too. I mix walnut and the
Corn cob.
Yeah, mix that half and half, and it cleans well and shines well. 22 long rifle brass, Jason. That is decent. You can get money for brass if you carry it to a recycler that's wanting it. Spent primers, I've got a bag nearly half full of them. I don't really know why I save them, but my intention is to take those to the recycler as well. But I've heard tell of people um, using spent primers in shotgun shells. Have y'all heard that?
I've heard of that before. Yep.
I've also heard of people using 22 long rifle cartridge casings to make 22 caliber bullets. Have you guys heard anything about guys that are doing that to pistol cartridges as well, where they'll fill the case with lead and use the actual brass case as a bullet to slide down the barrel?
Yes, wage it.
Yeah.
Full of lead, and then I've heard of that. I don't know. I don't know if I could do that or not. And
what I like to do. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jamie.
I was just going to say that I clean them, then I clean them, dry them, then I size them, then I trim them. So, and I'm talking about pistol and rifle. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just gonna maybe just decap a couple pieces of 300 blackout in a Lee O press with a universal Lee decapper. Let them know basically what they're looking at when you decap a piece of brass. What you're doing, you're removing the primer out of the back of it. And I don't know. I was just going to go with that, but I mean, I don't want to take us off course.
No, I think that's where we're at.
Well, we're getting into the whole press part too, and Jamie, you need an APP press. Just saying.
I don't think I do.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, you say you don't, but deep priming on a single stage versus deep priming on that is night and day. Night and day.
I hear you, but I got this up here right now, and I can 4 screws. I can take this off and put my lead 4-hole turret press on here. I have the Rating T7 right here. I can take this off with 2 screws and put the Lee Breech Lock Pro, which I have on a rack here, and slide it on there. Put the 2 thumb screws on it. This is on inline fabrication flush mount. This one back here is on really the same type setup that Lee puts out. But go ahead and show us deep priming. At this point in time, we're up to the point where we got to have a press. Okay, this press back here, little Lee press. A lot of guys have started with this. We got Allen started. We got Lyle Mosen started with one of these, and they moved rapidly up to fast presses. But I think I paid $36 for this when I first started about 4 or 5 years ago. Are you trying to see it? David looks like he's hunting something, but it's just a little lacy press, and you got to have the shell holder. And here, I've got some 350 Legend brass right here. Basically, all you're going to do is put it in there, raise it up, and you're just popping the primer. And show us how he's doing.
Single stage will work fine, but I'm telling you right now, man, you need an APP. I can go through cases like nobody's business, man. That thing rocks them out. I don't like it for certain things, but for brass prep, it's perfect.
So Willie told me when I turn around, lose my audio. Now we lost David. Echoing the Bunny Man. It's been a challenge tonight, huh?
Yeah, it seems like it. Everyone's having internet issues. So far, knock on wood, mine's been okay.
There you go.
Yeah, it is. I literally thought one day when I first got it, I ran what I thought was probably, I don't know, 1,000 pieces of brass. It was probably closer to 3,000 pieces of brass, and I didn't even realize it. Yeah, it's super quick.
Well, you know, I think that's pretty good. Daniel's leaving. Good night, Daniel.
There's nothing wrong with a good single stage. You know, I started out with a Lee 4-hole turret, then went to a Lyman, then went to a Dillon, and then I went to a single stage. You're gonna want a single stage at some point.
There's never not a use for a good single stage press. And there's been times that little Lee C press, I thought I was breaking it. I'm serious. Sizing bullets, I literally thought I was breaking that thing. So David's got a good setup there with nice light. You're going to need some light.
Basically, these are 300 black cartridges, and they're primed. They're primed and hit. Basically, you're putting them into the shell holder, and you're bringing them up onto this universal decapping die, and all this die does is pop the primers out. And it doesn't matter if they're military Crimpton or if they're just regular Preston primers. And then you end up with still a nasty case, because you can tell this is nasty. It's been shot with a suppressor, and the brass has no primer in it, and it's all nasty down in there too. And that's one of the benefits of wet tumbling, is they will actually get that primer pocket as clean as the outside and inside of the case, almost spotless. So basically, you just do this like this, and you can pop all these out and then get your brass ready to go in the tumbler.
It don't take long. You get on a roll and get in a rhythm, man, you can do a bunch. But you can obviously do more if you got a Lee APP press. I seriously don't know where I would put another press.
I sure do. You just need to have the quick change set up. I got mine sitting on the floor right now because it's on the quick change. So you just, I got two quick change setups. One on this bench that I'm sitting on, which is more of a preparation bench, and then my actual reloading bench on the other side over there. So I got one on both, so I can switch and move wherever I need them.
That little Lee press will get you started, and it'll make some pretty dang accurate ammo, particularly pistol. You're probably going to need a little bit more leverage when you start loading up big rifle rounds. There's Ghost Rider. What's up, brother? So at this point, we've gathered our brass, we've cleaned our brass, we've deprimed our brass and cleaned it. So when you start your depriming and all that stuff, you got to have a press. So that's what we wanted to focus on tonight, was as pretty much as low and as expensive, as inexpensive and as expensive as you want to go. One of the things, I'm 57 years old, fixing to turn 58. One of the things I've learned in my life, no matter what you're talking about, you can pretty much spend as much or as little as you want to for it. You can find some stuff that'll do an excellent job for not a whole lot of money. I'm kind of a middle of the road guy. I feel like if I pay too much for something, I'm wasting money. It might look better doing it, or it might be a little slicker or more impressive to other people or whatever, because it costs X amount of dollars. But you get to a point where, how good can a particular tool do a particular job? I mean, you start to reach a place of decreasing returns on your investment. You do get what you pay for. I don't ever want to buy the least expensive thing. But if you do, like I did when I bought that little C press, I bought that because I saw Elvis Ammo using his on one of his videos. He was sitting there sizing bullets with it and going to town. And he went through a bunch. But he's one I learned a whole lot about powder coating from. But we'll get to that on down the road, because we're going to be on this series for quite a while. So you can start with the little Lee C press. The Lee 4-hole turret press is what I generally recommend for people to start with, because you can learn in advance so much on it. It'll basically do anything that a single stage will do, and there's a good picture of it.
The good thing about the turret is we were showing you a single press, a single stage press. That one on to my left is an O press. This is a turret. It's got 4 holes so it can hold 4 dies. You can either automatically have it indexed to each station so you can complete 4 pulls of the lever, gives you a completed round. You could take these turrets out, heads out, these heads out, and you can have multiple heads for multiple calibers. And changing heads, you just grab the caliber you need, you give it a quarter turn in there. If I can find the holes with my blindness, there we go, and it locks. And basically you just switch calibers that easy, and you switch out the shell holder to the caliber that you need, and basically you continue on what you're doing and just keep on going. And both of these presses, the one I've got to the left here is the League Classic Cast O press. And you can get these on sale for under $150. These Lee turrets, you can get these for right now for around $111, $112. It's a really good press if you're doing 223 or 300 black or any pistol cartridge. When I'm using big cases, anything like 30-06, 308, or 4570, or anything 458 SOCOM, I can do it on this, but the press is struggling, because it just, the amount of mechanical leverage that it gives you is not as equal to a O frame press, which is this press right here. Gives you a little bit more rigidity and a little bit more leverage in the throw, but it's slower. You got to do everything in batches. If you can actually set this up with an automatic powder measure, and it will literally throw powder. You can resize, and then on the upwards, on bringing the ram up, you can prime. You bring it back up on the next station, and it will go ahead and drop your powder. Then it'll go to the next station for bullet seating, and then the next station for factory crimp die. And then when that station's done, when you come back down with the ram, you pull the bullet out, and it's a completed casing.
Yeah, 4 pulls of the lever, you got a completed round. So that's what I call the semi-progressive setup.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things when you get into something like that is making sure you get a full stroke of the handle, all the way down, all the way up. Especially if you get into a full progressive press, like a 650, 750, whatever it may be, the Hornady or whichever one. Make sure you're getting that full stroke all the way down, all the way up.
And when you're talking about progressive like that, I know my Lee Breechlock Pro, what happens is you'll fail to get a consistent bullet seating depth. And sometimes you'll have to go back in there and run them through again and just feed them and crimp them again.
Are you getting that on extremely full case loads, or is that just on anything?
I notice it more on when I'm using this 800X, which is a pretty full case. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would try bumping it down a couple thousandths on your seating depth. Anytime I've ever run into full case loads, I always end up, when I get to those cartridges that are requiring a heavier charge, I always index down the seating stem on the bullet seating die just a little bit. You know, like if it's a micrometer seating die, one that's actually got a dial on it where you can tell how far you're seating it, I just go down a couple more thousandths, or just like a 16th of a turn. What is that one? Is that Burdan? Let's start to pop it out.
Burdan primers are your. There's two nemesis to the reloading world: 380 and Burdan Prime military case.
I'm wondering what I got going
And
on here.
we've been talking about how persnickety 9mm can be tonight. I've had equal as much frustration with 223 as well. Have you loaded much 223, Scotsman?
No, I've got all the stuff to do it. I just honestly, if I showed you my reloading area right now, you'd all cry, because trust me, I'm sitting here crying too. I need to clean up, I need to organize, and then I need to start getting back on what I need to be doing, which is loading 223 and 9mm and getting some stuff put together. But I gotta clean it up. It's a mess. Sometimes it happens.
Yeah, I'm gonna be working on something new. If he was here, I'd show you. I got a box from Ozark Spirit today. Come from Midway. He sent me some 7.62 by 54R dies, brass,
Ooh,
and
some
cartridge.
Russian.
Very nice.
That's a good point, Jerry. But you also got to remember, I saw one of the guys earlier, I forget who it was, said they've started with 44 Magnum, and while that may seem extreme, it's not really, because 44 Magnum is that straight walled rimmed case that's so easy to do. You know, you run it through the sizer, you fill it full of powder, you put the primer in it. Well, not exactly in that order, but you know what I mean. It's pretty straightforward. But if you can do 9mm and 223, yeah. And West Covina just did 1,500 rounds of 233 on a Lee Classic cast.
How many?
He did 1,500 on a Lee Classic cast. I'm taking that to mean the single
He's got
stage.
the Dillon website open.
Yeah, now he has the Dillon website open on the
I don't blame
browser
you.
right now.
I don't blame you. Do it. Do it.
Dude, that's exactly what I'm doing. I had a friend of mine who he's new to guns, and basically he had some issues. He built his very first rifle, and his wife works with my wife, and she found out that I'm a gun guy, so he called me and I got his rifle fixed. I had to change gas blocks on it. And long story short, he's like, can you find me any ammunition? I'm like, well, you know, I can reload you some. So I reloaded him and myself probably 1,500 rounds on my turret. And I'm a single stage guy because I do precision rifle ammunition off my Forester coax. And I do at max 100 rounds. I did 1,500. My fingers were bleeding. I was like, if I don't buy a progressive press, I will never try to do this many rounds again. It would about beat me to death.
Yeah, if you're gonna shoot a lot, you gotta have a progressive press. It is key. I go through 9 millimeter like it's water. It's ridiculous. You gotta have a progressive press. I did fine with the Lee turret press when I had it, um, but getting out and shooting 2 3 times a week, you need to have a progressive press.
That's my dream. Hey, Walter, welcome in, brother. Uh, Walter, in case you didn't know, we went back to the beginning. We're doing starting from scratch, basic reloading, beginning reloading, because we've got so many new gun owners and so many guys that are new to the Second Amendment community that we wanted to start over and teach everything we could. But Jason Stewart asked for is a concentricity gauge necessary for pistol. That is a big no. Uh, you can even reload rifle without a concentricity gauge. I don't have one, but that's on my list. I want that Hornady or the some of you guys Eagle, Coach. Some of you guys do this long range stuff. What's the best buy for the money in concentricity or a concentricity gauge?
The Sinclair gauge. It'll do anything from, I believe, 17 HMR all the way up to 50 caliber BMG. They run about $115 with a dial gauge, and it's a quality piece of equipment. Brownells own Sinclairs, and this is what the gauge looks like. Let me grab it real quick.
Coach has the Sinclair. I've seen Kenny's on some of his videos, but I can't remember. I think his is the Hornady, but I'm not sure.
His is a 21st century. His is one of the most expensive ones on the market.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This right here is a Sinclair concentricity gauge. Got roller ball bearings that the casing sits on with a backstop. You just pick up on your dial indicator, set it back down. And this is so accurate that when I'm neck sizing and I'm doing concentricity of my necks, I can set this to where I'm on 0, and I can tell if I neck size my brass to the same size, because it'll fall right on 0 every single time, as long as I put the same amount of force on that neck sizing collet die. And that's another way to check if your concentricity and your basically what you're doing, your procedure, is being duplicated, consistently pulling the same amount of force on the lever. This will let you know. This will, this does really good with necks and cases. You can even do bullets with it. And I've also got a Hornady bullet concentricity tool that will let you straighten up bullets that are a little bit off. You've got a little plastic screw in, and you can push it over a little bit so that you get more closer to 0. Anything 0.002 of run out or less is considered perfect.
All right, so we're kind of getting a little deep into that. So you want to explain to people what the concentration gauge is for, what it does, since we're getting a little deeper into that.
Yeah. Basically, a concentricity gauge is telling you, like, if you're looking at a bullet, and this is just an empty cartridge casing that's been resized in 223 Remington, but say there was a bullet in the end here. You've got 3 basic circles. You've got the one at the base of the head of the case right here. You've got the one at the base of the shoulder of the case, right underneath the shoulder. Then you've got a third circle where your bullet is, right at the mouth and the neck. Usually your neck concentricity is almost always going to be duplicated in your bullet concentricity. So if you have 2 thousandths run out on this neck, when I throw it in my bullet concentricity part, I get about the exact same much, plus or minus half a thousandth. But the bottom line is it measures how square that bullet is sitting in your neck of your cartridge case to how straight your actual entire body of your case is, because the whole body sits down in that concentricity gauge, and you put pressure on it and you spin it, and the ball on the gauge, the digit or the analog gauge, will tell you where your high and low spots are. And I've even seen guys that'll mark their high spots on their cases and load them in their rifle that way, so that each case is got the same run out of concentricity pointing in the same direction. What you're trying to do is, this cartridge goes into your chamber, and since it's been resized, it's a little bit sloppy, and then the bullet's coming out the end of it. Well, what you're trying to do is you're trying to line that bullet up. When the firing pin hits the primer, it pushes it forward against the shoulders, against the inside of the shoulders of the case. When that happens, this bullet will center itself in the free bore. The primer's already been hit and the ignition is already started. As pressure burns and as powder burns, pressure builds behind it. The bullet and then the brass neck will expand and release the bullet. The closer you have that bullet to being dead center in your barrel's chamber, the more accurate it's going to be, because your bullet is not intersecting the rifling way out of whack to one side or to the other. I've seen factory ammunition be as much as 7 to 8 thousandths out of concentric, meaning that the bullet is leaning over in the case neck almost 7 thousandths of an inch. And that can cause, from shot to shot, where your variable may go from 7 to 2 back to 3. It's going to cause inconsistency, and that's going to cause inaccuracy. So basically, we're getting a little in front of ourselves here, but basically what you're trying to constantly do is you're trying to make each step that you do a routine, so that you get more uniformity between each piece of brass. The more uniform you get the brass, the more concentric you seat the bullet in it, the more accurate you get the powder charge from case to case, the more the ammunition is going to shoot better and more accurate.
This is definitely not for a beginner. This is very advanced. But basically, the question was asked, so we feel a need to answer it. So I'll say this about that in redneck terms that I can understand. If the bullet don't start square down that barrel, it ain't going to come out the other end square. It's going to be off center in its rotation as it's going down range, and that's part of what's going to cause it to not hit dead in the center of the bullseye every single time. So yeah, so back to the basics. Where were we? Trimming. We'll probably have to work on trimming next week, but basically, quickly, the cheapest and quickest way, maybe not the quickest, but the cheapest way to trim your brass is these things. These run $10 or less, and you got to have one for every caliber. And you also in another package that looks just like this, it comes with comes with these two pieces right here, and this has a little receptacle for the chuck that you can put in your drill, and then you put the case holder, the shell holder, screws down on this, and this is a number 3, which I believe is 3030, but it is. So that goes in there like that. Then you put this piece in the drill or in some other way of holding it. I forget what it comes with. Actually, I always use my drill, but Big Measuring Grains made me this, so I can put it in this. Actually, it'll go in any screwdriver kind of thing. Like, you got one of these, just a 1/4 inch. It should go in there, and it does. So you can do it like that. Then this is your cutter. See the edge right there? The edges on that? That's what actually cuts the brass. And this is the case gauge. This is measuring your length. So, and that screws in there together like this. And what I'll generally do is grab some channel lock pliers and make sure I got it all the way in there. But when you're putting this, you put it inside the case, then that goes. This one is primed already. So what happens is this pin right here goes through the flash hole. Now these, I'm just grabbing stuff up to explain it. You see that the pin comes out. This is for a 270. This is a 3030 piece of brass, and it bottoms out on the anvil part of this. So you've got the exact length that you want it trimmed to. And if you're not trimming it as much as you want to, an idea Kenny had, never know why I didn't think of this. It's obvious as crap, but you can take you want it to trim a little more, you can take a whetstone and just make sure you keep it square and just take a little bit off of there. I got that 270 cutting where I want it, and it does very accurately. So that's the cheapest way you can trim your brass. So we're looking at, first we gather our brass, then we deprime it, then we clean it, then we size it, then we trim it. And that's pretty much brass prep. But you get to the point where you got to have the press, you got to have the dies.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of tools out there. This one was given to me by Squatch Reloading, but you'll need a good primer pocket swager tool. So you'll need that. And then I picked up this guy on sale. Try this out as well. So I have a manual one. I got the Lee one as well, the quick trim, but I picked this guy up for a really good price. I don't know how much they cost now, but I got this for less than $60. So it's probably gone up in price at this point, but we're going to try this out and see how this does.
You're going to do a review on that?
I will, and I'll do one on this too that Squatch sent. Gave me. I'll do one on that, and I got all kinds of stuff I got to do. I'm so behind, it's not even funny.
Scotsman, was that the Frankfurt Arsenal drill and drill press cutter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been using that, and I've also got the World's Finest trimmers. And the only thing I found that I like the Frankfurt Arsenal because you can adjust it, and it makes it a lot easier than than the world's finest trimmer, where you've got to get those two little set screws and loosen them and just kind of judge on how far you're going. Where the Frankfurt Arsenal, it's got an actual dial that you can turn it and adjust length of cut. And the only thing I found that had a little bit of an issue was when I was shoving the brass in there, be easy. It goes slow. It's not the fastest cutter in the world. I tried to get a replacement cutter head for it, but the carbide RCBS didn't fit the drill press one. It fits the one for, if you're using the benchtop one that's got the chamfer and deburring and the primer pocket cleaners and the cutter all on it. It'll fit on there. So if anybody needs a RCBS carbide cutting head, they're sold out everywhere, even RCBS, but I was able to get one, and I can't use the thing. It was $60. So if anybody wants one, needs one, I'll help you out with it.
You can call Echo and the Bunny Man at BR549. That just went over all the younger people's head. They have no idea. Yeah. So
and one other thing, Jamie, did you cover loading trays?
I did not.
These are a little piece of heaven. Without these, you will guaranteed to make a huge mess. Especially if you're single stage loading with a single stage press. These hold your batches of ammo like this up and nice and snug so they don't fall out or they don't shake powder out if you bump them, and that you don't have them totally full. That'll keep the powder inside the cases and keep them organized for you while you're working on them. And these things really help. And these are the Frankfurt Arsenal ones, and you can get these for about $6 or $7 a piece. And even Amazon Prime has them, and you can get them. And they're caliber specific, so you have to look each one of these that are sold. They'll show you the back of them, and the backs of them will have all your rifle calibers, but also they make pistol caliber ones, and they're usually a number. Like these are all numbered, and they say it right on the thing here. This one is a number 4, so is this one. But you can get 4S or 3S, and they're short. The actual plastic is shorter, so you can get pistol cartridges down in there without having to try to fish them by just grabbing the top little piece. They're a little bit shorter. And like I said, Amazon, Midway, Brunel's, any of your places like that are going to have these things. And every company makes them. You can get them from Hornady. I'm not sure if Dillon makes them, but I don't see why they wouldn't. RCBS makes them. There's a lot of different ones you could choose from. I like these because they're custom sized and they're cheap.
Bald runs a lot of progressive because he shoots competition pistol. But if you're doing precision rifle rounds, you gotta have those. I use red ones, what are those, the MSM ones? And the reason I like those is because it holds so many different calibers. I have one right here. Getting ready for the show.
That's like a universal, Jamie?
Yeah. Their 100-round ammo boxes are really good for reloaders too. See this, you got different size holes, and see these are smaller and they're not as deep. They're more for, those holes are more for pistol, while the bigger ones are deeper and they're more for the rifle. But yeah, I like these because I can do so much with them. And then you turn them over, got another set of holes there.
So I like the MTM. The MTM, you notice you got one right here, you got another one right here, and on the back side, you got another one. So you got three in one. So you have lots of options with the MTM.
That's basically what mine only. It's different color, different shape. And
Yeah. And these run like, I think this was like $6. So pretty cheap.
I think mine was
And
8 or 9.
yeah,
But
MTN also sells the boxes. Is that the boxes, Jamie?
yeah, this box right here is 100. Holds 100 rounds of 223 or 350 Legend or anything that's that size. I really like 100 round box. I just love having that box in my range bag when I go to the range. I got 100 right there at my disposal. I generally load 20 or 25 um, in each test group. You know, I generally do either 4 or 5 shot groups. So it's either 20 or 25. So I really like having that 100 round box so I can take multiple sets with me to the range and do my ladder loads like that. It's really handy. So I really like those 100 round boxes. Yeah, that's what I do for pistol coats. Um, those well, the 30 caliber ammo cans work good for. You can put a lot of 9 millimeters in a 30 round can.
Or 5.56?
Yeah, but let's say you're loading 40 or 45, and you fill up a 50-pound ammo can. All of a sudden, that thing's not the easiest thing in the world to pick up and move around. You can do it, but yeah, it gets heavy. So yeah, I like the red. I guess Chico's still having buffering type problems.
And also just a little something out there for some information. Try to stay away from the big plastic ammo cans. They look nice. They've got an O-ring seal on them. Last time I went to a machine gun shoot, I was carrying 4 of them, and I'm going to tell you the truth. I was overdoing it. There was a young girl there, and another guy grabbed 4 cans, and I was like, "Well, I don't want to look like a weakling," so I grabbed 4. It started raining about 10 minutes prior to this. We're in Georgia at Clay, and I'm walking up a hill that's just got little bits of sod, and I'm pulling on these handles really hard. One of them pops loose, and probably 1,500, 2,000 rounds of 5.56 sliding down a clay mud hill. And it wasn't my
Uh-oh. Texacan, I was typing your note, but I do 4 or 5 shot groups in each ladder group. I don't do 3 shot groups. I do 5 shot groups. So yeah, I 20 to 25 is a complete ladder test for me. I believe in 5 shot groups. Yeah, 6 shooter Texan got 1,040 Smith and Wesson in a 50 cal can.
I would have to agree with Jamie on the 5-shot group versus the 3-shot group, because here's the problem with the 3-shot group. You get one flyer, how are you going to really be able to tell what that group is if you get a flyer? So having a couple extra rounds really gives you a good base as to where you're going with that load.
Hey, Mig, we were just talking about you. He made me this and this for my lease stuff, my trimming stuff. I still use it, man. Thank you, Mig. 3D printers is the bomb. Okay, good. Listening while cooking. Mig's the man. So let me get something right quick. Scotsman, hold the fort down. Is Echo still running? We're struggling tonight, guys. We
Yeah.
really are.
Can you hear me? The internet is full, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. So Roosted,
I shut down my camera to hope.
when doing ladder tests, Roosted, you can shoot over the chrono. It's just gonna depend on what you're trying to do. Usually myself, I'll do it in two separate things. I'll do a ladder test for group size, and then I'll also go through and I'll do another test with the same one over the chrono on a separate thing. So I'm not trying to put the focus on accuracy while I'm trying to do it over the chrono. Because the biggest thing when you're shooting over a chrono is don't shoot the chrono. So you got to be really, really careful where you're putting bullets at that point in time. So I try to do it in two separate things. So I'll usually load up 10 of whatever I'm going to try, do 5 for an accuracy, and 5 over the chrono.
Good night, Walter.
I do a little bit different than the Scotsman because you got to remember I load a lot of precision rifle ammunition. And when I'm working up a load, I'll load 10 cartridges and I'll start out where I know is a safe level for that particular firearm out of the load data book to start. And I'll start, if it's a 30 cal, I'll increase by 0.3 tenths of a grain. And I will go and I'll shoot it over the chrono, letting the gun cool down in between each shot. And what I'm looking for is an increase in powder without an increase in velocity. I'll find a node. And right there in that node is where you're going to be able to dial in accuracy. The thing is, if you find a node at like 2,500 feet per second for a 308, that's slow. I want to be pushing 26 to 2,700 feet per second. So I'll look for another node where the velocity doesn't increase when I increase the powder. And when I find the node in the velocity range that I'm looking for, that's when I will dial in that load from there. And it just cuts out a lot of using a ton of primers and powder and projectiles. I've found that works out very well for precision ammo.
So as far as how far away do you want to be from the chrono, it's going to depend on what you're shooting. If you're shooting rifle, you're probably going to want to be a little bit further away. Pistol wise, usually 3 to 5 feet. You don't need to be too far away from it. You don't want to be too close, but you don't want to be too far away either. You got to remember that bullet's going to deviate possibly, so you got to be very cognizant of where you're going with it. 5 feet is usually pretty good for me, and that'll give you a good spot to stand at where you can both see the chrono if you don't have it set up for your phone. You can go further if you want, but remember, if you go further, you got to really pay attention as to where you're pointing that gun at and where that bullet's going. I'll go as far as 15 feet with a handgun, but you really got to know what your gun's going to do.
Well, if you get too close, you're going to get false readings. You're going to get some super fast.
Yeah. What the chronograph is actually picking up, it's an eye optic sensor on most of them that are using two waypoints, and they're basically catching the shadow off the bullet as it travels over an optical sensor, and then it's counting the milliseconds in between the time it takes to cross the back sensor, and then it finds out a velocity from that. When you use a handgun, they recommend about 5 feet because handguns tend to blast unburnt powder out the end of their barrels. Because a handgun barrel, you have a much shorter barrel, usually have a much faster burning powder. So what doesn't burn actually will come out of the muzzle and give you a false reading and possibly cover your optical eyes that are trying to read the shadow from your bullet passing over. With a rifle, you can get closer than 5 feet, but you got to remember you want to at least be 3 feet from the end of the muzzle because you're going to get muzzle blast. And that blast is a supersonic gas cloud of unburnt powder, carbon, and various other crap. And it will actually pick it up on the chronograph, and you'll get some ridiculous number like 6,000 feet per second. And you're like, did I load that really, really, really hot? And then you find out when you go and clean your chrono off, you wipe the top of it off, you've got a little bit of unburnt carbon and maybe a little powder on the top of it. That's the only thing you got to worry about. With the lab radars, you don't have to worry about that too much. However, you do have to worry about lab radars. They're built in a company in the United States that is quite a bit above sea level. I can't remember if it was 1,500 or 2,500 feet above sea level where they manufacture the lab chrono. Well, when you take that down to sea level, it actually reads the bullet slower than it's actually going because you're at sea level versus up, and it'll actually read the bullet faster than it's going at higher altitudes. Now, I'm not sure if they've got a new firmware program that they can put in there to program it for where you're going to be using it, your altitude, but that's where that kind of boils down to, where the other chronographs are a little bit more keep it simple, stupid kind of thing. They've been around for years. Most of the brands that are out there are pretty decent. Chrono, Precision Diagnostics. There's a couple other ones, and they're pretty good. I've been using Chronos for at least 25 years, and they've gotten a lot better and a lot more accurate over the years. But if you put a bullet through one, it's still going to kill it.
So, AR Gun 1776, are you still out there? If you are, this is coming your way, bud. I'll be sending that out to him Monday or tomorrow. Lab radar is the best signal soldier, but that's one of those you get what you pay for. They ain't cheap.
500 smackaroos.
That's a gun, man. That's a gun. But I got these last week. He having trouble finding 223 brass, so I wanted to hook him up. I got him 300 plus a few more in case there's some bad ones.
Oh man, you should have said I got tons of it.
Well, I'm sure he needs it. I'll send you his address if that's all right with you, AR. But these have been deprimed and cleaned. Didn't trim them, didn't size them. West Covina. Y'all can say what you want about Pat. That's one funny sucker, man. Him and Paul Lloyd get me tickled.
Pat's awesome, man.
Yeah, Andy, I think from what I've seen on Johnny's reloading bench. By the way, where is Johnny? I think we need to do a video.
I don't know. I hope he's all right.
I do too. Sure, AR. Give me a call anytime, brother. You got my number. So, from what I've seen in his videos with the lab radar, it kind of sets up to the side. So it's out of the line of the bullet, which is very cool. And then that one that hooks on the end of the barrel, one like Kenny had and Magneto Speed, Johnny uses that one too. That's one of those two will be what I get next time.
Here's the thing with the Magneto Speed, and you get this in archery too, is it's so close to the end of the muzzle or the end of the arrow in archery, if you want to go that route, that you're not going to get 100% accurate reading because it's too close.
Yeah.
You really need to push it out further to get that accurate reading.
But if it's not, if it's working off magnetics and not optical like the Caldwell, stuff like that. So I don't know.
I haven't played the one, so I don't know for sure. I'm just comparing it to something I know, which is, in archery, if you do something like that, it's a little too close and you get false readings. Because I had one before where literally it screwed to the bow itself, but it was so close, you were getting false readings.
Okay, it's getting close to that time. I'm going to run through the side chat. So we got Mario Mosen, Bald and Curious. Let me put Bald's comment up there. Yeah. Signal Soldier 31, Reloader 762, Preacher's Day Off, Eagle Eye Shooting, Jerry 1911, Andy 79Z28, West Covina Dodge, AR Guns 1776, Six Shooter Texan again, Signal Soldier 31. Did I say him? Roosted Films, Preacher's Day Off, Hitting Steel CA, K24, PCC Kid K24, Jerry 1911, the Crazy Scotsman's in the room, Eagle Eye Shooting again, Tex I Can, Plowboy's Ghost, GGW Reloading, Tread, what's up, brother? Tex I Can, Measuring Grains, PC Bullet Empire, Coach Brothers Firearms, he already had to go. Tread, GGW, Measures and Grains. I think Rallis Carvelis. I hope I say that right. And I think that's all of us right now that's making comments anyway. And that's as far
KW. Howdy, partner.
I'm okay, Tread, I think. Yeah, man. Come on in when you can. We start at 8, though, Plowboy. We start at 8 Eastern. Preacher's Day Off. I saw a couple of your videos earlier. There's Willie Bullet Man, Uncle John, G. Pishner, Edward Petty, Chris 338. Yeah, so we had almost 50 at some point tonight. I think we made it to 48, 49. There's Reloader 762. Yeah, I got to catch up on Preacher. I'm way behind on Preacher's Day Off. And Preacher's Day Off, I want to say thank you for the prayers for a brother. So thank you very much. Yeah. Floyd Hicks.
Everyone out there, please smash the like button.
Yeah. And yeah. Kenny, it's an honor, brother. So with that, we'll go to Echo. And what you working on, brother? You got something coming for us?
I'm going to be turning out some 357 Maximum tonight.
Cool.
Just got to set up the dies and pull out some bullets and some H110 and what little Magnum. I think I'm going to use small rifle primers in these because I'm using them in a contender. So I want to get a little bit more oomph out of the cartridge.
I don't blame you. What powder?
The Hodgdon H110, pretty much a Magnum pistol powder, very similar to Winchester 296.
It's the same powder.
Yeah. I'm going to try to, give him something that he can shoot. Right now, he's shooting 100 yards, and he's getting a 3-inch group at 100 yards, which I thought was amazing. But he's got a 16-inch barrel Encore pistol with a scope on it. And I'm going to try to get him enough velocity to where we're still at supersonic at 200 yards, and then that's what he's going to call it at 200. And that gives him right to the edge of the cornfield in Georgia there where he hunts. And that'll be a good spot because that's where they come down and they cross out of their bedding area right down the cornfield row there.
Tell him get him a 270. He ain't got to worry about it.
Oh, yeah. He shoots. Actually, he's got a couple 308s and a 8mm Mauser. He just likes to, go and do different stuff, hunt with different stuff. I think they have in Georgia. Don't you have a handgun season?
No, you can hunt with handguns anytime you want.
Oh, okay.
We have primitive weapon and archery. Archery starts in the middle of September here, but it's blame hot in September. Ain't nobody thinking about deer hunting. You go out in the woods, you get eat up with chiggers and fleas and mosquitoes and everything else.
100%. I've been there. I've done it. It ain't fun.
No. Bow hunting in Georgia in September. Look, you're a whole lot better off going to football games, or you were before the COVID. So now I don't know if we're even going to have any football.
You're better off sitting in AC.
You are. You're better sitting at home in AC reloading for the gun season, which starts the middle of October, when you can actually go outside and breathe. So what do you got coming up? Domesticated foreigner?
Not a whole lot. I'll try and get some videos out of reloading stuff this coming week. I still got stuff that I got to do for Loads Bacon and Reloaders Network. I'll try and get that done this week. Other than that, Sunday is going to be pretty epic.
Yeah, I can't wait, man.
If you guys have not heard, we have our local Russian, as we call him, up against L&B Pro in the Great Drink Off. So this should be a fun one. If you guys want to know the rules and how it kind of plays out, go check out the video I did on that. It's real quick, real short. There are some rules to it, and Jamie is going to be our moderator, so he can help and kind of keep us on track. So as much as possible.
This is going to be so fun, but I did tell them last week they need to go get them a full jigger shot glass. So it'll be 1.5 ounce shots, no more than once every 5 minutes. And then we're going to play into that with there's Lever Guns 50. Welcome, brother. We're going to play into that, making donations to Justin's final mission. So we're still.
That's the biggest thing. It's all for Justin's final mission. It's all about having some fun and kind of getting away from everything that's going on right now, just for a minute, and having a little bit of fun and helping Justin's final mission out, helping our veterans.
Yeah, that's a big deal, guys. It really is. So. Also, as we're leaving, y'all tune in to Scotsman, 7 o'clock Eastern, Sunday night. I got one problem with the drink of choice for the night, being the Double Oak Woodford Reserve. I'd rather seen a cast strength.
I have a couple of issues, man. Freaking he threw out, Allen Pro threw out Heineken and Corona. What the hell?
I don't know, man. What's up with that?
That's not beer.
Heineken's beer, but you got to get it in Amsterdam. It tastes like it's delicious in Amsterdam. I'm telling you, it's skanky tasting over in America because it spoils. They use a lot of natural things in their beers, and those type of beers don't last very long.
One of the problems you got too is they use green bottles, and if you use green bottles over brown bottles, you actually have a bigger chance of spoiling the beer because of how the light hits it through the green bottle. I could do a whole video on that, but I'm not going to.
Hey, Jamie.
I think the only true fitting chasers for a good whiskey is water or beer.
It's got to be proper beer. There's not a lot of water. It's got to be proper beer.
Or more whiskey.
Heineken and Corona don't count. And I'm going to let these two know. They got to come up with something better. That's bullshit.
So basically what Justin's final mission is we're trying to I agree, Lever Guns.
So Justin's final mission, for anyone that doesn't know, basically they are building cabins out in Kentucky to help veterans combat suicide. And for every $10,000 that's raised, we can build another cabin. And it's been a huge part of what I've supported for the last few years. When I found out about it, I talked to Eric a lot. That is something that is a big deal. Making sure our veterans are still with us, making sure they don't disappear. It can just be something as simple as just talking to them for 5 minutes. I'm happy handing out my number to a veteran. They need to talk to someone. They're more than welcome to talk to me.
the number I was trying to come up with in my head was, I believe we've talked about it before on your stream. Um, the At one point we were losing 22 veterans a day to suicide. Guys, that's a shame and disgrace to this country.
It is. And it's a shame that the government has not turned around to do more for those that protect and defend.
Absolutely. So we need to get off of here. With that, I'll say I had a idea for a video I started working on, and that was the hollow points that Chico sent me. I was going to shoot them into water jugs and see what it would take to make them expand. And I was doing a hardness test on them. Them suckers are like 26 BHN. They're not going to mushroom unless you shoot them against a brick wall. So we might do that just for kicks and giggles, just to see water jugs blow up. But that'll be fun too. So, guys, we're in touch. Y'all be in touch. Check us out on Instagram at georgiashootingconnection.com. Georgia Shooting Connection at gmail.com, and Georgia Shooting Connection on YouTube. Y'all watching us on this tonight, so click that subscribe button, ring the little bell, hit the like button, all that stuff. So I hope God blesses y'all real good, and we'll see y'all next week, Lord willing. Say good night, y'all.